Every year, thousands of experts evaluate the status of animal, plant, algae, and fungi species around the world. Using a common language of assessment, they categorize each species' risk of extinction on the IUCN Red List. The Red List provides a barometer of life. And every year, the outlook gets worse. More than 31,000 species are currently threatened with extinction. Most because of human action. But human action can also reverse the Red List trend. So conservationists, governments, and communities around the world are joining forces, activating tried and tested IUCN tools in a coordinated effort to assess, plan, and act for wildlife. Together, we can save species from extinction. Together, we can win the fight for our planet's future. Together, we can reverse the red.
Our next episode of Join the Conversation centers around preventing extinction. Please welcome back Stephen Monfort, and joining him is the chair of the IUCN Species Survival Commission from the Center for Ecology of the Venezuelan Institute for Scientific Investigations, Jean Paul Rodriguez.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with John Paul Rodriguez, my friend and colleague, who's the chair of the IUCN Species Survival Commission. And we're going to talk a little bit about this program that they have called Reverse the Red. You know, most people know, John Paul, that there's a red list of threatened species. And, you know, hundreds of zoos and conservation organizations around the world, we all look at this as a barometer of how we're doing. And so it's been a great tool to tell the story to people about what we need to do to get them moving one way or the other, hopefully in a favorable direction. So I guess my question for you is, do we have reason to be optimistic? How are we doing with the Red List success? And how about the program, you know, Reverse the Red? How does that fit in?
Hello, Steve. Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. I'm here sitting at our headquarters in Caracas in Venezuela, so this is a truly global meeting. So we have many reasons to be optimistic. You know, usually the Red List is seen as a messenger of bad news, of species that are threatened with extinction and facing a high level of risk. But there are also lots of examples of species that have recovered through human action. And we use tools like the Red List Index and other cycle analyses like the Assess, Plan, Act species conservation cycle that we use to measure how species status change over time. And we have many analyses have shown that yes, it is true that the average situation of species, the average status of species around the world is declining, but that the decline would be a lot worse in the absence of conservation action. So we conservationists have a big fight ahead of us. We know how to do conservation. We have proven in many examples that we can save species from extinction. We just have to do a lot more of it. And that's the key message of my presentation today, is that we know how to do conservation. We just need to do more.
Well, maybe you could talk a bit more about what that means. Specifically, could you talk maybe about the role that zoos and conservation organizations, since I have a bias in that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. So there are different levels. We, within the IUCN Species Survival Commission, which is the commission that I head, we have a network of almost 10,000 experts in 170 countries that have the knowledge and the experience that can contribute to saving species locally and globally. But we also have the world's governments and networks of conservation organizations globally that we need to join in setting ambitious targets that we all are aligned with. So places like the Convention of Biological Diversity or the United Nations General Assembly, the proper IUCN World Conservation Congress that's going to be next year in January. These are fora that allow us to discuss what the best actions, what are the priorities, what are the key activities that we can do, and then distribute the responsibility to all of us. So we all have a different role to play, and the key thing is that partnerships and collaboration is the fundamental force underneath Reverse the Red. So Reverse the Red, as you saw in the video, means reversing the tide of extinction, improving the state of a species, enhancing conservation action. And we think that a combination of governments, academia, private sector, NGOs, indigenous people organizations, all the players together, aligned in the same direction is what we need.
So in particular, where this was supposed to be quite a big year for convenings, conservation meetings, the World Congress, and other meetings. So, but why now in particular do you think this is so important for us to start sort of flipping the conversation to how can we reverse the trends? Why do you feel that's important right now at this time?
Yeah, well, we entered 2020 with the name of the super biodiversity year, the year where we're going to have the World Conservation Congress, the UN General Assembly focus on biodiversity, the Conventional Biological Diversity COP, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We had all these different events that were supposed to happen this year, and that was why it was a key year for us to align our messages and our strategies together. But the truth is that, if 2020 is not the super biodiversity year, it'll be 2021. It'll be a combination of both, and we still are at the right moment to unite all these different interests and these different. I mean, the governments have a key role to play because conservation, although the red list gives us the status of species at the global level, and that's a very important piece of information, conservation action most often does not happen at the global level. It happens at the national level, even the subnational level. Countries like the US or countries with large decentralized governments, much of the conservation action happens, provincially at state level. So what's important for us is that we all realize that we have a different role to play, but the most effective way for these goals to be achieved is for us to be aligned. So I think that Reverse the Red, we're going to be reaching out through a combination of we call it the sandwich approach. So the top-down kind of coordination between conventions that the Secretariat of IUCN has been leading. They've been participating very actively in all the conventions, trying to get the post-2020 targets aligned and this kind of global strategy. We combine that with the bottom layer, which is the specialist groups of IUCN working nationally in collaboration with governments, providing the expertise and the knowledge to percolate upwards. So if we take this top vision of global conventions with the bottom vision of the science and the expertise coming up, in the middle is the outcome, and the outcome is more knowledge being fed into decision-making processes so that our conservation actions are evidence-based and measurable into the future. So it's a sandwich, the top-down and bottom-up strategies simultaneously in the same direction.
So we have about 30 seconds left, and what would you like to tell people about Reverse the Red, how they can get involved, how they might partner with IUCN?
Well, I think that the best way to follow us in social media today, we're basically launching the Reverse the Red hashtag. It's time for everybody to check us out and find a way to participate. There'll be opportunities for everyone at every level of society. So welcome and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, John Paul. I hope to see you soon. Stay safe. Good luck with the campaign.
Yes, and thank you.